Hey everybody, and welcome to the January/February update. I didn't do one in January because people are coming back from holidays, and there was just a whole lot of busy things happening on my side. Besides, I realized that a lot of good news happened at the end of January, so it was nice to add it to the February update. So what is this video about? It's basically things I saw online, or the news I found online about the hobby that we do, which I found was very, very interesting. Now, some of this news might be old news to you, but it's new news to me. For me, I just like to share, right? Use this video as a resource for you if you just want to know what's going on out there in the miniature tabletop gaming world. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about this company called Crow Industries. And the reason I want to talk about them is because I only recently found them. Now, what they do is they make STLs, and you can download the STLs and you can print them. And they've got this Patreon thing happening. So I suppose that's their business model, which I found was very, very interesting, right? When I went to their Patreon page, I found that they have miniatures for Starship Troopers. They have miniatures for Battletech, which is great because at the moment there are only a few places you can get Battletech mechs. You can get them from Ironwood Metals, which is what I prefer to get them, where I prefer to get my Battletech from. You can get them from Catalyst Games, and by the way, Catalyst Games have already acquired Ironwind, right? But the Catalyst Games original range is the more larger and bulkier, I think, was it plastic or resin kits that they got. But now here's another place for you to get like a mechs from a Crow Industries. I was scrolling their page, and it seems that they actually had Dune miniatures for the Dune game. In fact, I think they have a Dune game out or something, but apparently had to remove it because of some problem or another. They didn't elaborate, right? So yeah, but they have Starship Troopers. So if you remember, many years ago, there was a game called Starship Troopers by Mongoose. I tried to stock the set here in the store. Didn't really move so well, but it's got its own set of fans. The biggest problem with that game at the moment is you might have the main set, but you might not have the miniatures for it. This is where Crow Industries is a great idea, right? So you can actually join them, support their Patreon, and get the STL files, and you can carry on playing the Starship Troopers game from Mongoose using their miniatures. It works. Besides, I'm also a huge fan of Heinlein, and to have a game where you're playing that world, sure, why not. Next up, in January, people at Archon Studios had a Starcraft AMA, Ask Me Anything, which is kind of cool. Why? Because they're updating what's happening with the game. A game is hot, especially for a shop. The game is hot when they haven't even begun anything yet in terms of like proper production, and people are already asking whether I'm going to be stocking it. So that's good because it means that there's excitement. My only problem with the Starcraft IP is the fact that it's only 3 factions, right? It's the Terrans, the Zergs, and the Protoss. So far, by my experience, games that have only 3 factions don't do so well. Like X-Wing. I mean, if the mechanic may be great, but it's the factions, right? It's the variety. So hopefully, this won't be the same thing, and StarCraft grows from strength to strength. Now the AMA, you can actually listen to the replay. They've got all this news on how they want to launch it. I think they got this big set that they want to launch in initially, where you can get almost everything and then you build from there. The sculpts look quite nice. They are releasing colored plastic and then see-through plastic and stuff like that, which I think is a great idea. So yeah, definitely Starship Troopers. Sorry, Starcraft is definitely on my radar to check out, and yeah, we'll probably bring those in for sure. Okay, so next up is news which I didn't think would happen. So Mantic Games is relaunching their Dread Ball game, right? So, I've when Dread Ball first came out, I got them. We had some guys were into it. I played a couple of games. I do like Dread Ball. It's got this very nice mechanic. What it basically is to me is it's science fiction basketball, um, which is very very cool and very different. In fact, I was quite a fan. I actually have a couple of the Dreadball teams. The link to that playlist is here here, or I'll put one in the description. So yeah, so when I found out that Jervis Johnson, who I sort of have this hero worship for this guy, that he is moving over to help Mantic. Not moving over. He's retired. He's helping Mantic with their Dreadball game. I thought it was amazing news. Now Jervis Johnson, if you do not know, is the guy responsible for Blood Bowl, right? Which again, I'll repeat every time the topic comes up. The best game that Games Workshop ever created. It's small. It's within budget. Some people would say Mordheim, or maybe Space Hulk, but Mordheim. There's a whole world to build right around it. Your terrain and stuff like that, and your modifications and your kit bashings. And for Space Hulk, you've got this like nice, 3D dungeon crawl, space dungeon crawl terrain. But the coolest thing about Blood Bowl is the fact that it's on a field, right? And you end up collecting teams, which I think was one of the reasons why I kind of sort of liked it. Also, the mechanic was really really cool. The block dice, right? Introducing the block dice to the game was the game changer, if you ask me. So now they've moved. Not I keep saying that. Now Mantic has Jervis Johnson doing design for Dreadball All Stars, and I was looking at the pictures, pro pictures. It seems like the Dreadball pitch is smaller. And it seems like because it's all star players, you would be I'm not too good with American sports here, but I think you what do you call that word for it, where you get to choose. I choose this guy, you choose that guy. Draft. You get to draft players. So I suppose that's kind of cool. In looking at it from the outside, and the fact that it's going to use D8, so it probably follow. Maybe it'll follow Halo, right, with the exploding eights and stuff like that, right, and keywords and stuff like that. So maybe that will be the thing that they'll go with. The only problem I've got with like that, with a game like that, is the fact that the company really limits itself. Releasing different teams helps growth in terms of purchases and stuff like that. Releasing a one-off set with just star players, maybe like, I think they'll probably release like maybe like 20 star players to choose from. Is kind of limiting. We have all of the star players from season 1 here in the store, and there are a lot of star players. But I don't know. Here's something to definitely look out for. But it's exciting news. Jervis Johnson working on a Dreadball. Let's hope that the wizard himself, manages to pull something, out to make Dreadball exciting. Since we're talking about Blood Bowl, Dreadball, let me just also throw in Guild Ball. If you're into games which are tight, which is all about skill, less about luck, go try Guild Ball. Guild Ball is also pretty good. So these are the 3 sports games which are currently, I think, the best sports games out there. Next time we're going to go to Wargames Atlantic, and Wargames Atlantic have released the French Infantry in Greycoats. 1804, 1814, I think. Well, the Napoleonics proper have arrived with Wargames Atlantic. I think they've done their pulp adventure run. They were just releasing pulp adventure releases, so now they've moved some Napoleonic in, which I think is a great idea. I'm looking forward to Wargames Atlantic actually putting a little bit more ranges out for a Napoleonic 28mm. Why? Because I think the folks at Wargames Atlantic have sort of figured out this this their formula, and I think that formula would work great for people playing Napoleonic at 28 mm. You're playing Napoleonics on a 15 mm or 6 mm backers, there are different things involved, but at 28 mm, with the fact that Wargames Atlantic tend to put out different heads and stuff like that, right? The chances of the frames being filled with stuff is great, which could mean any one of your blocks of infantry can look very, very unique. So I'm looking forward to that. So this is pretty much the first one, the French infantry in grey coat. Next up, news from Victrix. I like Victrix. I'm a big fan of Victrix. We now talk to Victrix quite regularly, and since their Pillage game came out, folks have been playing and building Pillage armies, right? But the cool thing is Victrix just released pre-punched decals, right? So previously, if you did not know, you buy decals from Victrix, which are basically little Big Man Studio decals from Victrix. You actually have to go and cut the decal out, use a puncher, make a hole and stuff like that, and attach them, right? But what they've done now is they actually have released decals that are pre-cut. So that means you just put them on, which is great. Their price did not change, but if you were to order the decals without cut, it's cheaper. So that's really good news, because Little Big Man Studios actually has a huge range of shield designs and banners and stuff like that, and having stuff pre-cut is kind of cool. I think the first batch, I think, are just shields, I think, for starters, but just keep an eye on Victrix and what they've got coming out. This is definitely innovative for me, because we've had problems with folks in the store who cut into the design and make a mistake somewhere, but now if it's pre-cut, you don't have to worry too much. So yeah, Victrix pre-cut decals. Next up, on Perry Miniatures, another company I like very, very much. They've just released 8mm Napoleonics Bicons, basically, and these are kind of cool. It's for their travel battle or something. So now you got another scale that you can work with. This is supposed to be miniatures for a game that you can take. It's anywhere, right? It requires a little amount of space to play. The sculpts don't look that bad. It's Perry's. I think it's an interesting gamble for them to do, and it don't look that bad, actually. I'm wondering whether you can actually combine. I don't know. I don't think you can. I think it's slightly bigger. So now we have a whole bunch of different scales again. I remember maybe 25 years ago, when there were a whole bunch of different scales, and then things just sort of became standardized. But now everything's all over the place again. You got your 13.5s, you got your 15s, you got your 6, you got your 8s, you got your 18mm. Everybody finding their own little niche, which is kind of cool. Find the scale that you like, that you can paint, and what you can afford, and work with it. So I'm very excited about Perry Miniatures releasing this 8mm. At the moment, it's Napoleonics, which is kind of cool. So, and then we have Warlord Games. Warlord Games, it is pushing Crimea, and they are, I think, taking pre-orders for the Ottoman Turks and the Russians, and Crimea is not as popular as the Napoleonic War, right? But it's definitely a major battle that if you're so inclined, if you enjoy the Black Powder period, right, it's something you can actually get yourself into. And I like the fact that they're moving, slowly, covering the historical landscape proper, while they have Conflict 47 doing the science fiction thing. I think usually when it comes to a good miniature company doing historicals, they cover as much as they can. So they work on the long tail instead of going deep, which I think works for me. I prefer that, right? So now when it comes to Warlord Games, they have a new batch, a new range that you can get into, right? And this is also quite cool because For those folks who have been having trouble finding Crimea 28mm figures, here's another avenue to find it. They're not as easy to find as Napoleonics, and not as rare to find as 28mm American War of Independence figures, because not that many manufacturers make them, and 28mm. So yeah, really really great that Warlord is doing this. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all the news I thought was really really cool, really interesting for me. For the month of January, February. I'm sure I missed a couple of things. You know, I'm sure if I missed out anything, somebody will say something in the comments. And if you do, I'll probably have a look and talk about whatever it is that you recommend next month. Right? We can do this as you recommend something to me, and think of it as a crowdsourcing spot. I go and have a look at it, and I'll talk about it. And, that'll be in the March update. So that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, and as always, don't forget to enjoy painting those figures.